What if I told you that the most difficult emotions in your life, the anger, the fear, the anxiety, weren't actually a weakness? What if they were your greatest source of untapped power? Well, today, we're going to explore exactly that. How to transform your relationship with your feelings, not by getting rid of them, but by learning how to lead them. From the time we're kids, we're all given pretty much the same advice, right? Hey, calm down, stop being so sensitive, just think positive. We're told to meditate it away, go for a run, or just slap a smile on our face. And while it sounds like good advice, it secretly trains us in a really dangerous habit, the belief that our feelings are the enemy, something to be fixed or escaped. But here's a radical thought. What if fighting our emotions, trying to push them down or run from them, is the very thing that gives them power over us? What if the struggle itself is what's making us weak? This quote just hits the nail on the head. The goal isn't to feel less, it's to learn what to do with what you feel. That intensity you have, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's raw, untapped potential just waiting for a leader. Okay, so let's break down this emotional trap that almost all of us fall into. Why do our usual strategies for dealing with tough feelings always seem to blow up in our faces? See, most of us really only have two modes. First, there's explosion. That's when you lash out, get defensive, and say a bunch of stuff you immediately regret. And then there's suppression, which is just as bad. That's when you swallow it all down and it slowly turns into this quiet, simmering anxiety or resentment that just eats away at you from the inside. And here's the kicker, the really crucial thing to get. Neither path works. Exploding or suppressing, it doesn't matter. They both end up in the exact same place. Your emotions are in the driver's seat, calling the shots. And you've just handed over all your personal power. So if fighting our feelings is a total dead end, then what do we do? Well, this is where we need a complete shift in how we see everything. A total paradigm shift. Okay, listen up, because this next part, this is the whole game changer. Negative emotions are not the enemy. They are untrained power. Just think about that. Every strong feeling you have carries this raw, potent energy. When it's untrained, sure, it's just chaos. But when you learn to discipline it, to direct it, it becomes this incredible source of inner strength. And the goal here is something we can call emotional command. And let's be super clear, this is not about becoming a robot or feeling nothing. Actually, being numb is just weakness trying to pretend it's peaceful. Real strength is feeling it all, the whole surge, but still being the one who chooses how to respond. I love this analogy. Think of your emotions as high-octane fuel. They're the raw power. But your mind, your conscious awareness, that's the engine. Without the engine to channel all that fuel, you just overheat, you spin out, you break down. But with a disciplined engine directing all that power, man, you become unstoppable. So how do we actually do this? How do we start training that power? Well, it all starts with learning to decode the signals our emotions are sending us, instead of just freaking out about the noise. Let's kick things off with a big one, maybe the most misunderstood emotion of all, anger. We're all taught it's bad, right? That it's dangerous, destructive, and we should just stuff it down. But what if that's completely backwards? So what if anger isn't a command to attack? What if it's actually a signal, an alarm system telling you that one of your boundaries, something important to you, like your values, your time, your respect, has just been violated? It's not about destruction. It's about protection. So instead of just blowing up, the trained response is actually pretty simple. It's just 3 steps. First, and this is the hardest part, you just pause. Stop the automatic reaction. Second, you ask yourself a simple question. Okay, what boundary was just crossed here? And finally, you respond. You don't yell, you don't attack. You just state your limit with calm, clear strength. Now that's power. All right, let's use that same logic on another emotion we're all taught to see as a weakness. Fear. What is its real job? See, fear isn't a sign that you're weak or that you can't do something. Fear is actually this incredibly intelligent system that's scanning your future for risk. When you feel it, it's not screaming, run away. It's just asking a very simple, very smart question. Hey, are you prepared for this? And if the answer is no, the solution isn't to kill the fear. It's to get prepared. So we're learning to reinterpret our emotions. But none of this works without the master key. The one skill that makes everything else possible. And it's all about creating one simple thing, a pause. Here's one of the sneakiest and most destructive habits we all have. We fuse our identity with our feelings. We don't just feel anger, we say, I am angry. We don't just feel anxious. We say, I am an anxious person. When we do that, we collapse that space we need for choice. We become trapped inside the feeling. This is where a tiny change in your language can make a massive difference. Shifting from I am anxious to I feel anxiety isn't just playing with words. It creates distance. It reminds you that you're not the storm, you're the sky that holds the storm. You're the observer, and the observer always has a choice. So think about how this goes, right? Something happens, that's the trigger, then boom, the emotion surges. And for most people, the reaction is instant. But your power, your real power, lives right in that little gap, that space between the feeling and the action. The entire practice of emotional command is about learning to widen that pause, even if it's just for half a second. That's where you take control back. So what happens when you actually practice this stuff consistently? What does it all lead to when these pieces finally come together? Well, you get what we could call the integrated self. And these are the real-world results. Your inner world it stops being a war zone. Your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, they all start moving in the same direction. You develop real composure under pressure. You start to trust yourself because you've seen yourself handle things. And your decisions become clearer, cleaner, and you feel a whole lot less regret. I'm just going to let this next quote sit there for a second, because it's a big one. Whoever controls your emotional reactions controls you. Think about that. If a mean comment from a stranger online can ruin your day, or a setback at work can make you spiral, then you've handed them the keys. You've given them control. And that really is the bottom line, isn't it? It all comes down to this one question. Who are you going to let be in control? This isn't about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Every single time you practice that pause, every time you choose your response, you're making a vote. You're casting a ballot to take your power back. So, the choice is yours.